thriller, but she was able to say no. I want there to be comedy. I want there to be this sort of romantic undertone between these two people, and to allow the audience to just not take it that seriously, which is surprisingly uncommon. I think we tend to see movies sometimes as punishment, and we don't get the opportunities to be like, oh yeah, to just have a little bit of joy.
I think we're tipped off to laugh.
Yeah.
Right early on when she looks up that slang word and figures out that she's a ballbuster, frigid, pain in the ass.
Debbie Downer, I understand this word for the first time.
Debbie Downer?
Debbie Downer, cock blocker.
Yeah, cock blocker.
What else? One of my favorite words.
So, Rebecca, I understand that you start with real life in a lot of your work, like that you're not confecting some scenario that has no relationship to your own personal narrative. In this case, I'm assuming that you were probably in analysis. Having myself been in psychoanalysis for many years, those scenes felt very real.
Who would have that? Who said yeah?
Except,
are you an analyst?
My analyst never put that fresh piece of paper on the pillow. I think I was in a lower pay grade. Can you tell us just about, I don't know, are there aspects of your experience that made it into the film? Or
how much time do we have? It's gonna, there's
variable
things, First, I have a funny story about that. First, there's two things that are not connected to my personality. Is that first, I'm a good skier. I know how to ski, like no one could tell. And second, it's been I waited to be 40 years old to start a therapy. And people were like, what? You're this super Jewish, Ashkenazi person, Parisian. Of course you must be in therapy for years and decades and stuff. And I was like, nah, not. Then eventually I found someone. And I think, by the way, that our last séance happened 3 weeks ago. Did not tell you, but I think I'm so angry that it was not before the film was shot, because it would definitely have been in the movie. It's like the therapist just opened her door, and a huge, massive work on the apartment upstairs started, but not okay, there's something bothering us. Literally, there's in our head, and the ceiling started to collapse. And she pretended nothing happened. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to leave.
Does that scare you?
It's a long story, and anyway, you have it after. But yes, and also the second aspect of it is that when Jodie was in Paris prepping the movie, because Jodie is a strong she likes to prepare a lot. She would go to the gym as well while I was drinking wine and cheese. She was like, I just like to go to the gym, and be fit and stuff. And I was like, yeah, me too. Anyway, and she's and she kept having notes, and of course with this amazing challenge of her being in French. Can we applaud her with the amazing performance she delivered? And we went to see shrinks, therapists, not shrinks, but very famous therapists, female therapists, psychiatrists in France, so she could, and I could get inspired by the environment and the people. And after 2 meetings, Jodie was like, it's not for me. Not for me. So what did you mean by that?
Well, your psychoanalysis in the traditional way, Freudian sense, we don't do that in the United States. It's very rare. It exists a little bit in New York still, but Freud was kind of canceled for us. I think the misogyny kind of took us out. And however, but when I was in college, I did a lot of work with Freud for literature, and it is a fantastic lens to look at art. Right, and it has humor to it, and it's funny, and it's so for that I was really grateful to be able to revisit a kind of intellectual joy at looking at Freud and looking at an entire movie through that lens. But the idea, well, you're going to really hate me. But the idea of having your therapy, which is you're hoping that you're going to change, right? You're hoping that there are parts of you that you wish you could develop and you could progress as a human being, that is not the point. The whole point is to have this interaction between two people I'm like, I don't care about that person. I just want to do the therapy for me. I don't want to do the therapy for the therapist. And that was the part of psychoanalysis that really I was like, this is a long, expensive journey into hoping that my therapist becomes a better person. I'm just not, no.
I'm gonna send this Q&A to my ex-therapist.
Frederick Wiseman, I couldn't help but notice, plays your former analyst, and now, as Lillian Steiner kind of over emphatically puts it, her colleague. And Wiseman was also, in your previous film, playing the gynecologist who tells the lead character
And
that
the next part would be like a cardiologist or whatever, because like
Yeah.
he's used to like,
But-
doctors.
he is a truth speaker in your films, I would say. He pops up in cameo to say something that needs to be said that only Fred can say. Are you gonna keep casting him? Because I'll be disappointed if he's not in the next
Me,
movie.
me too, and only I think that only this would like help me impeach me to have him like in my next film. There's something, I mean, beside the fact that he's the kindest, funniest, smartest. I'm sorry for all those superlatives, but this is like Fred Wiseman person on earth. There's also something I noticed that wanting to have him in the film, wanting to bite him in the film, was also connected to what's happening like worldwide. The fact that this filmmaker just like consacré, given up his whole life like to document what democracy is, to document what institutions are, to document what is probably falling apart, vanishing so fast. It became more and more, I don't know, it makes me shiver, but I want this person to be forever.
Well, his films are certainly forever. Jodie,
Although he's funny, he's really, really like a funny person when he plays like the asshole. When he took the part, he was like, I see what you mean, like you want me to be an asshole. And I was like, yeah. He said like, totally understand.
he's so great in the role, and it's one of the few times when you're speaking English, which is like your truth language as a character, Lillian. In French, I know it's a cliche, but it must also be true that when you code switch into another language, that there are cultural cues and things that you adopt and manners of speaking that are probably a little bit different than your personality in English.
Completely different. I have a totally different personality in English than in French. And in French, already I speak much higher. So it's just how I was taught, right? I was taught by all of these little French ladies, and I was 9 years old, and they all spoke with these head voices that they had adopted. That wasn't really their natural voice, but in the 1970s, that's how women spoke. And my voice is just much higher. And I'm also nervous, and I also am insecure in French. And I'm
You're
also
more aware.
that I'm trying to express myself, and that it's hard coming out that I can't communicate myself the way that I would in English. So yeah, there's a totally different character that comes out of that.
But maybe you could use that in the role of Lillian because she could have all of those tics also.
The frustration of it. I mean, I think the one of my favorite relationships in the movie is with Vincent Lacoste, who plays my son. This idea, and I know my sister went through the same thing, this idea that you give birth to a child that has grown inside of you, and he decides that he's not going to speak his mother's language. And it's this bone of contention between the two of them. Maybe his whole life she's spoken to him in English and he responds in French, and then little by little she gives up and they speak in French together. Well, he'll always have the upper hand. He will always be able to dominate her in conversation. He'll always be able to make fun of her and interrupt her and fluster her because he's used to watching his mother get flustered from people that speak the language better. So it creates this kind of, we're talking about ambivalent motherhood. It creates a kind of, I don't want to say terrorism because that's a little strong, but it creates a constant, almost edible domination on his part of always trying to tell her that he's better than her.
Right.
And I thought that was so interesting in the movie that she finally blurts out. Everybody laughs when they hear it, and for me it was very earnest on her part, where she finally says, well, all of this is good, that you were a Nazi and you were a militia,
Incredible.
because
scene.
maybe I'll be able to love you in a way that I was never able to love you before. And to me, it was such a dramatic moment, but it's funny.
Now that you know that he was in the milice in 1944, it's all cleared up between you.
Exactly.
But when she says, "I wanted you to be able to survive me," this word has an incredible duality to it because it means you can go on after my death, and it also means you can suffer me and tolerate me.
Important to talk to Rebecca about that because, of course, survivors are, in our language, when we think of survivors, we think of survivors of the Holocaust, and that has its own, psychoanalytic difficulty that Rebecca expresses in her films.
And we say just one word about like your amazing idea of the festival of motherhood, like motherhood, ambivalent motherhood films.
Don't steal it from me.
It's a very good idea. Let's say it publicly, so no one steals from you.
Yeah, a film festival about ambivalent motherhood. So the movies that come to mind is, let's talk about Kevin. What is it? We need to talk about Kevin. The Babadook, for example, or Psycho, or any Psycho.
And for this is like this line is the most personal to me in the film, and I'm glad and I'm shy that you mentioned it. But I've been an orphan of my mother. Like my mother passed away when I was like a child, like 11 years old, and something that runs like, I think it's something that we never get like really like a consolation. And I felt very deeply like when I gave birth myself, I was like so, I'm sorry to mention, to be like intimate, to share that, but I was like, yeah, please like sleep in another place, and please, and I'm a very like Jewish, caring, loving mom, not that ambivalent, I would say. I would not be in your festival. I noticed that I really wanted him like to be able like to survive me, and I wanted to be able to die, and I'm sorry, I'm so Jewish. It's like, can I be able to die, my love? No. So this is the picture. Okay. And then I was in a memorial trip with my dad, Misha Zlotowski, who's always like in my films as well. Like he plays a rabbi here. I don't know why. I keep like filming him, like praying, saying the Kaddish, the El Malech HaChaim and stuff. And I'm obsessed with that. So where's the therapist here? Thank you. And on this memorial trip, we were just like having a remake of Jesse Eisenberg's amazing movie, A Real Pain. Well, in Poland, right? In Poland? In Poland. Yeah, like we watched the movie in family and whatever. And so, of course, this is like a remnants where there's an echo, a correspondence of what is to survive. There's an echo in the film, even if it's like with levity, but with like the survivor of the Holocaust. Pearl Friedman, played by the amazing Aurore Clément, is here, like thank you for that. And Aurore Clément that has like an earring in the film that is the earring of Apocalypse Now, actually. She has a story with that. Anyway, so there's a lot of like winks and allusions to that, and because in a way, Lilian Steiner makes this trip too, and she reconnects to something that is part of her genetics and part of her deep scares and memories and stuff, and someone we don't know our own secrets, and those are part of hers.
It seems like she could potentially be, she loves women, but cannot reconcile that sexual desire without imagining that she was actually a man who loved women. That's my own interpretation of it. I think that we have run out of time. I've just been signaled to from the audience.
When it became interesting. I'm kidding. Thank you so much for this.
The film is so amazing. Thank you both for making this movie together. It's really a dream partnership. It's such a funny, profound movie. It's like a lockbox with secret drawers.
Thank you, Rachel Kushner, amazing novelist that we all know in France. Thank you very much for that.
Hey folks, At 3:30 at the bookstore between the covers, Rachel will be doing a book signing of her book Creation Lake. That's 3:30 today at Between the Covers.